Now batting number 13, Dash.
There's a big shortage in all sports. We're hopeful that we can get more sports officials across the board, but every sport is hurting. Volleyball, basketball, softball, every sport is at least 30% down right now. My name's Rick Moore. I'm the owner of Bay Area Sports Officials, also known as BASO.
Hi, my name is Edie. I umpire baseball and softball.
I'm Brian Chua. I'm an umpire for baseball and softball.
I've umpired since I was 13 years old. I'm going on my 38th year.
I've been an umpire for about 5 years, I believe.
About 6 years, maybe 7. I started because my children were interested, and it was something that my son wanted to do. He was in a junior program, and I decided to go along through the training to be his backup if he ever had any questions.
Started in Almaden Little League when I was 13. I think that the young adults can learn a lot by running a game and learning to deal with conflict. When I started in Little League at 13, it was really a great, Almaden Little League had a great training regime. The guy who ran it, the umpire in charge in Almaden, did a great job, 13, 14, 15 years old. When I was working my way up, Almaden, they were very supportive of me.
I was trained in San Diego by Bill Kemp, and the training was 12 hours of classroom and about 16 hours of field work.
I umpired a lot of games in shorts. They had a powder blue collared shirt for us. We would throw on the powder blue shirt and we had a balloon. They provided the shin guards, the mask and everything. We had our own broom and indicator and everything else was provided. But I umpired many games in a pair of shorts. And now, looking back, seeing that, I just shudder that I did that.
I have been umpiring at about 6 years, 5 or 6 years at the recreational level for pony and some little league, and we would umpire everything from 7, 8-year-old games up through pony, which is 14 youth.
Towards the beginning of the season, I was doing softball games, and now it's just been baseball games. I do some Bronco, but mostly Mustang, like 10U, I believe.
I enjoy baseball. It's very interesting. If you just watch baseball, it's a very slow sport, as it's one of the few sports with no clock. But if you umpire baseball or if you play baseball, it actually ends up being a very fast-paced game. It's sort of, best characterized as a lot of dead space punctuated with moments of panic.
I had 120 football officials and I had 43 that didn't come back. 11 of them moved and 4 of them retired. I'm hoping to get roughly 30 more, and if I can recruit more, it'd be great. But football is really a tough sport, and we're hopeful that we can get more sports officials across the board, but every sport is hurting. Volleyball, basketball, softball, every sport is at least 30% down right now.
With COVID, all of the sports suddenly became spring sports. And so the pool of people we would normally use for baseball has disappeared because some of them are busy with softball commitments, or some of them are busy with football commitments or basketball.
I feel like there could be a lot more umpires. There's not that many. It just means that I have to umpire a lot more and then almost no time to myself.
In my family, we have 4 umpires. We had an umpiring commitment in some form for every day for about 7 weeks.
It was definitely a problem pre-COVID. It was a drop-off, but it's a twofold deal where you have to recruit and you have to really work at it to get the officials to come out. And then once they come out, you have to work with the coaches and the schools and everything, because it's a different dynamic for people. If they've never experienced being yelled at, things should change, especially locally. High school sports and lower, we need the sports officials to not be berated so much by everyone. It's not just the parents, it's not just the coaches, it's everyone across the board.
To an extent, it's part of umpiring. People always complain about the strike zone that we call, simply because You know, whenever it's their pitcher, the defense usually complains that, you know, it's like, oh, the strike zone's too tight or something like that. But typically when they're batting, they don't complain that it's, you know, that something's being called a ball on their batters. I did get a comment from a player when I called something a strike. The guy said, oh, that's a strike in China, which, you know, considering all of the anti-Asian stuff going on and the fact that I'm Chinese, I'm like, you know, I'm not going to react to that, but if it gets worse, I'm going to go figure out who that was and eject them.
There's always been some stories. I don't have any specific off the top of my head, but I've gone to my car before in full gear and drove away. And I've been with partners and we're just like, we're getting out of here. We're getting out of the area. And it's just the atmosphere. It's some things happen, mob mentality or whatever you want to say, but things like that do happen. And you just, as an official for so many years, you have to recognize that, and you gotta get out of there and protect yourself.
I think even though you see it on signs every now and then, there's a sign at some of the fields, they say, you know, remember these are kids and the umpires are human. We do make mistakes. You know, we make mistakes, but our job is to be as precise and as perfect as possible.
When things happen, if something's not right or they do something that you know is wrong, you can say things like, hey, you're better than that, you're a better player. Well, don't do that, because you know that might hurt your team. Don't hurt your team. Those are things that I've acquired through the years, and I think being older I could probably say that. But like a catcher blocks the ball in front of me, thank you, you know, keep that ball off of me. Those are always good things, and it's good to have that rapport with the players as well as you, because they can talk to you and ask you a nice question, not a yelling at you question, which is never a good thing.
If you were a parent and your child went to school and said, hey dad, I came home, I had a 400 question exam and I got 397 of them right. And your dad said, what about those other 3? You suck. You have no value in life. You should consider another job. That's what umpiring is like. We're going to see somewhere in the order of 300 to 400 pitches a game. And if we miss 2 or 3, those 2 or 3, everyone focuses on the 2 or 3. They don't focus on the 397. And so just remember that, you know, every now and then we will miss one because we're trying to watch a fastball coming through at like 80 or 90 miles an hour. There are a lot of variables that go into play in making that call. You know, we see plays where we possibly get blocked out by dust or by players' body parts, all sorts of stuff. And it comes down to judgment.
Root for your kid. Just root for your kid and your team, and let the calls happen. Let the coaches coach the game. If the coach doesn't come out to question something, don't scream and yell about it like he didn't know what the question should be.
We have a lot of experience and we're using our judgment to the best of our ability. But, you know, something happens and sometimes we get the call wrong.
The more junior umpires there are, the more people are going to be inspired. I mean, in my case, I was working in San Diego, and ever since I started umpiring on the field, there was a lot more kids that wanted to start. We had kids starting at like 7 or 8, and it was really cool seeing kids that young start.
Come out and officiate. Give it a shot. If there's a sport you liked, if there's a sport you didn't like, give it a try if you can, if you have the time. We need as much help as we can. Any association. If you want to start off, you can start off with your local little leagues. Football, you can start off with Pop Warner. Basketball has rec ball. If you think that this is intense, high school, start off at a different level. But honestly, we at the high school level, if you have a desire to work it, you can come to us and we will train you. We will work our butts off to get you up and running and do a good job.